Welcome to Creative Mornings, Charlotte. The main event, we're going to be hearing our speaker, Mark Williams, talk to us on our global theme of genius. So lots packed into this next hour or so. So we're super excited about that. One of our favorite traditions, just to keep the music going here, one of our favorite traditions is to have some local, Charlotte area band or musician come and share a new song that they're working on. And so we're going to do that now. Welcome, please, to the Charlotte Star Room Music Stage, everyone. Hip-hop orchestrated, everyone. Hip-hop orchestrated.
We would like to welcome you to the hip-hop orchestrated experience, where hip-hop and orchestral music intertwine and collide. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish and everybody act like they forgot about Dre. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish and everybody act like they forgot about Dre. Terrence, John, DJ Answer, take it over.
So this is a real privilege to get up here and talk about this today. Matt's really gracious in letting me get up and talk. Again, my name is Tim Miner. I'm the co-leader of Creative Mornings. In truth be told, if Matt didn't give me this opportunity to talk about this, I'd be pushing him off the stage because I'm that excited about it. We have an incredible manifesto. There's so much in here to dig into, and we do every month. This is what we believe as a Creative Mornings chapter. And each month, we highlight something different. This month, it's we're here to support you. I'm sorry, this has been a long time coming. The energy that this room gives Matt and gives me and gives everyone that's affiliated with this organization is incredible. This room is warm. That's what we tell every speaker. It's a warm room. It's the most welcoming place you're gonna find. But there's four walls here. There's so much generous spirit, so much creativity in this room. We want it to spill outwards. When people ask us, why do you do this? We love Charlotte, and we mean that we love Charlotte. We love everything about it. We also love and recognize the challenges. And sometimes being creative and being artistic in this city can be challenging. We get a lot of credit too. Hey, you guys created an awesome creative community. That's not true. We created a vessel where you guys come every month and we get to meet together, but the creative spirit of Charlotte has existed for a long time, It's strong, it's vibrant. We just have the privilege of shining a light on it. And now what we want to do is help it grow further and be recognized. So we say, if you can see it right down there at the bottom of the second paragraph, that we give hugs and high fives. We have an idea for how to give Charlotte a hug. And thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, we can do it. So today we are announcing the Hug Micro Grant Program. HUG stands for Helpful Unfettered Gift. Every month, starting today, or well, actually starting next month, we will give out two $250 micro grants to an artistic or creative endeavor in this city. Now, that's not a ton of money, but that's enough to get an idea that's been generating in someone's mind moving forward. That's enough that if you've got an organization or an event and you don't know where the flyers are going to come from, or you don't know how you're going to pay to boost posts, or you don't know how you're going to get a banner made, that can help you. Hopefully over time, this grows, but this is open to for-profit and not-for-profit organizations. So if you're an artist who is struggling to buy canvases or buy materials you need to then sell your goods or do your work, this Hug Micro Grant can be used to do that. We're not going to have a lot of oversight. We just want to give you the money and see what happens. We're really excited about it. So if you go to huggrant.com, you can apply as early as today. We will pick 2, and then next month, you will see those 2 winners. And every month after that, we're going to give out 2 hugs a month. We are so excited about it. And it's you guys and our sponsors that have enabled us to do it. Let's take this spirit that we have created, that we espouse in here, and let's push it out there. Thank you, guys.
The gifts are only getting better. All right, we are on to the main event. Are we up? Okay, here we go. So, the theme, of course, is genius. And our speaker, Mark Williams, is a business development consultant who launched a nonprofit organization in 2015 called Shakespeare in a Chair, an innovative youth literacy program that you're about to hear the story of. Now, prior to 2015, he was actually the director of business development for Charlotte's Inner City Partners. And then before relocating to Charlotte from New York City, in 2003, he was a sales and marketing executive for both Courtroom Television Network and Showtime Network. Courtroom, wow, Your Honor. Okay. In 2015, he was recognized by Fast Company magazine in their annual list of the 100 most creative people in business. Ladies and gentlemen, here to speak to us on the global theme of genius, please welcome Charlotte's own Mark Williams, everyone. Bring him to the stage.
Good morning, Charlotte.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming out today in support of Creative Mornings, Charlotte, and the entire Creative Mornings team. I first want to thank Matt, Tim, and Steve for providing me with this wonderful opportunity. I'm very excited to be here. A few years ago, my life took an unexpected turn into the world of William Shakespeare. More importantly, I've been able to bring my kids and many others along for the ride. So, what have I learned so far? That minds can be changed. My journey to Shakespeare began many years earlier. I stand in front of you today due in large part to being raised by some wonderful parents who were vigilant in making sure that my sisters and I took advantage of all the arts and culture in New York City. And this exposure cultivated my curiosity. I would like to share a story with you about an incident that happened to me in 1977. In July of that year, New York City experienced a citywide blackout. And some neighborhood boys and I decided we were going to go down to a local electronics factory and steal some electronics. And when we got to the factory, something happened inside me. I stopped. And a large voice inside me says, don't do it. So I turned around and started walking home. And when I got a block away, a swarm of police cars came, sealed off both blocks of the factory, and arrested everyone inside. And right at that moment, I realized how close I came to altering the course of my life. I would not have graduated from high school on time, and I would not have gotten into the college that I did. So what was that voice? What I did not say was that for many years prior, I was both a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout. And at the start of every meeting, we said the Scout Oath. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. So, in reflection, I guess that voice inside me was my moral compass. And as an adult, and as a father of 4, I've always thought about how can I cultivate that moral compass in myself and in my kids. Aquarius, you're up. Look up. Speak loud. Go ahead.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer, and slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms so they can take your trouble, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep, perchance, to dream. Hey, there's the rub. For not sleep to death, what dreams may come. When we had shuffled off this mortal coil, might give us pause.
In 2003, when my wife Isabel and I relocated to Charlotte, the first person that I met was a lady named Bernie Simmons. And for those of you that don't know Bernie, she's about 4'11", and let me see, how do I describe her? Let me use some of Shakespeare characters. She is as wise as Prospero from The Tempest. She's as feisty as Catherine from Taming of the Shrew. And she is passionate in her beliefs and as persistent as Shylock from Merchant of Venice. And over the last 14 years, Bernie's been a good friend and mentor to me. And oftentimes, whenever we have conversations, Bernie always references either Shakespeare or Greek mythology. And my question to Bernie is, Bernie, how the hell do you know that? And Bernie's response, when I was a child, my parents brought me many books, including Shakespeare. One of Bernie's favorite sayings is that you never know when you'll need Shakespeare, but when you need him, you'll have him. Can you imagine hearing this over and over for 14 years? Look, folks, like most of you, I was not introduced to Shakespeare until high school. And I didn't do very well. I just did enough just to pass. It was Greek to me.
I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition, that this goodly fame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory, this most excellent canopy, the air. Look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted of golden fire. Why, it appeareth nothing to me but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how expressed and admirable. In action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet, to me, what 'tis this quintessence of dust?
So 3 years ago, I was sitting in a local barbershop and looked around and suddenly realized how much idle time the kids were spent. And in a flash of a moment, I asked myself, is there a better way to utilize the idle time in a barbershop? So I went to the head barber and I said, I'd like to create a reading program for kids so when they come in each week, they have something to do. And he said, sure. And he asked, what would you like to teach them? And I said, Shakespeare. And he said, okay. So I ran to the nearest bookstore and looked at every Shakespeare book that they had and found a series of books that I thought would work well. And for the next 2 months, the three barbers and I read Othello from cover to cover. And what I learned from that experience is the benefit of hearing everyone's perspective. We read the same text, but yet I didn't see what they saw. I was like, wow. To add a little bit more context, in the African American barbershop and beauty salon, it's a place where life lessons and wisdom is handed down. So we organize weekly reading sessions for some of the kids. I created Shakespeare-themed games. It was really nice for the kids. But one of the things that I realized was that it did not go far enough. And actually, this is how Shakespeare in a Chair was born, in Pineville, North Carolina, in a local barbershop. Now, it's one thing to be struck with a good idea, and it's another to act on it and stick with it. So when I created the program, I had 4 goals in mind. I wanted to improve self-confidence, critical thinking, public speaking skills, and reading comprehension. Come here.
Out's damn spot. Out I say. 1, 2, why then, 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fee, my lord, fee. A soldier and a feared, what need we fear, who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Yet, who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him? The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. Which you are with all this starting.
So, the question that I'm asked most often is, why Shakespeare? And although I had only read 1 or 2 plays in high school, there were some things that I did know. I knew that reading Shakespeare makes you smarter. I also knew that if you can read Shakespeare, you can read anything. And the other thing that I came to learn is that Shakespeare writes about the human condition. He writes about love, hate, jealousy, revenge, peer pressure, racism, right? And these are all issues that we're still dealing with today. And actually, our kids are dealing with these issues as well, but they're not dealing with them so well. Shakespeare's stories provide us with characters with empathy and also characters with no empathy. They provide us with characters with multiple points of view. But what I love most about Shakespeare is that he encourages readers to use their imagination, right? Like be on a ship. Imagine you're on a ship and you're shipwrecked. So, how do we help children appreciate the value of Shakespeare's works? Make it relevant. We have to make it relevant. Shakespeare has a number of colorful characters to choose from. For example, one of my favorites, John Falstaff, who actually straddles the line and then sometimes crosses over it, right?
Sack and sugar be a fault. God help the wicked. If to be old and married be a sin, then many old hosts I know is damn. To be fat, to be too hated, then fairly kind are to be loved. No, my good Lord, banish Pito, banish Bardolph, banish Plains, but for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Jack Falstaff, true Jack Falstaff, valiant Jack Falstaff, and therefore more being as he is old Jack Falstaff. Banish not him thy Harry's company, banish not him thy Harry's company, banish plump Jack, and banish all the world.
You did it, baby. So the first year I had 2 successful pilots, the barbershop, and I actually partnered with an elementary school teacher who allowed me to come in and work with his 5th grade class. And although both programs were successful, they did not go far enough in accomplishing my goals. It was at this point that I realized I needed to do something different. I needed to figure out how to change their mindsets, how to change how they view themselves, and also how do they view themselves in the world. During this past school year, I had 2 programs that I facilitated, one in a local middle school as part of an after-school program called Bulldog Matters, and the other at a youth outreach ministry, primarily focused on helping elementary school kids. And both programs focused on helping youth in the Greer Heights community. So with the elementary school boys, what I've done is just keep the learning text to a single passage. And as we're learning that passage, we learn about the characters and the themes. And then also, what are some life lessons that can be garnered from that? With the middle school kids, I worked with them for 4 months, and we completed Julius Caesar and Macbeth. So a few things that I did was that on day 1, everybody reads. Week 4, everyone is reciting. Everybody's learning something. We identify the key passages. We identify what are the moral dilemma that the characters have to make. And we utilize all types of multimedia. You know, when we was reading Julius Caesar, I brought in the OJ's Backstabbers. Remember that? And one of the kids said, "My mother listens to that song." So every time he hears that song, he's going to think of Julius Caesar. So what were the takeaways? When facilitated in a fun and interactive way, kids enjoy learning. I also learned that kids like to dress up, right? They want to be Julius Caesar. They want to be Romans. They want to be Lady Macbeth and Juliet, right? And Falstaff. And I also learned that all kids want to learn. You know, we sometimes hear that some of our youth, particularly African American, minority kids, don't want to learn, that they're not motivated enough. And that's not true. That is simply not true. Take the case of Tyron and Demarie. Tyron was the young man that just came up. After completing Julius Caesar, I decided to have a friendly competition to determine who can recite and memorize the most number of lines. And the prize was a Cam Newton autographed football. So in the weeks leading up to the competition, Tyron was apparently one of the favorites. Because you can tell, right? He's confident, he's smart. However, Demarie was quiet and shy. But he came up and said, I'll participate. So on the day of the competition, Tyron gets up, recites his lines. Very impressive. A few other boys recite, but they just don't meet the mark as Tyron. Demarie comes up, recites his line, blows everyone away, and wins the Cam Newton football. At that moment, it was clear to me that Demarie put the work in. It was clear to me that all the boys put the work in. These kids don't want to be actors. They want to participate in something positive and something different. Roderick, you up.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the minds to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing in them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we in. When we the heartache and the thousand natural shocks, the flesh is here to 'tis a consummation, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. There's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause.
Let's take a look at a passage from Julius Caesar that touches on two central themes: persuasion and peer pressure. If you break it down, Julius Caesar is really about how one person was able to get a group of people to turn on their friend. So in this scene, the conspirators are just about to kill Caesar, but before he dies, he has some words. If I can pray to move, prayers would move me. But I am constant as the northern star, of whose true fixed and resting quality there is no fellow in the firmament. So when I hear that, what jumps out to me is northern star. I am constant as the northern star. So in my class with my students, we talk about what are some values that you're unwilling to compromise on? When was the last time somebody tried to persuade you to do something that you didn't want to do? How'd you handle it? How can we avoid becoming easily persuaded? What is peer pressure? Is it good? Is it bad? Let's talk about it. So this program is not solely about Shakespeare. What's genius about Shakespeare is that 400 years after he wrote it, it's still relevant. It's still relevant today. If it was about enhancing cultural literacy, that would be fine in and of itself. But what we're trying to do is help build a framework for these students for making sound decisions. So what's next? I'd like to expand the program, or actually I am expanding the program to include parents. Because I want parents reading with their children and talking about these issues as well as a family. For the last 3 years, I've done this program on a shoestring budget. I'd love to partner with the education community and the business community to strengthen my curriculum and expand the program. Let's reach more kids. I want all kids reading Shakespeare, but not when they're in high school. I've proven that you can introduce kids to Shakespeare as early as the 4th grade or 5th grade. I want to continue working with families in the Great Heights community. And I've also started reaching out to some local as well as national Shakespeare production companies so that we can take some of these students and send them to summer camps in Ashland, Oregon, or up in Berkshire, Massachusetts. Also, there's a place up in Stanton, Virginia called the Blackfriars Theater. And I had an opportunity to go see a production of Julius Caesar last year. Wonderful opportunity. Imagine if these kids have that opportunity early on, as early as possible. Think about the impact that that has on them. So what can you do today? Help me raise money to take these kids up to the Blackfriars Theater in Stanton, Virginia. And in conclusion, my parents were vigilant in ensuring that my sisters and I were exposed to all types of arts, culture, and mentoring programs, which helped to frame my moral compass. And when the time comes for my students to make that crucial moral decision, I hope that that internal voice inside them will say, don't do it. Thank you.
Mark Williams, everybody! Shakespeare in a chair. And the kids.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up.
Come on up here, guys.
Come on.
That was so great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, Mark. That was awesome. And I'm glad the kids are up here, too, because we just decided on the fly, we're going rogue here. We just decided we're going to give our very first hug grant to Shakespeare in a chair.
Come on up.
Now, we're running a little short on time, so we don't really have time for Q&A, but the good news is Tim and I are going to sit down with Mark on the Charlotte is Creative podcast in about 20 minutes and ask him a bunch more questions. So we'll release that in a few days. I think it's going to come out on the 14th in Charlotte 5, so you'll be able to listen to that continued conversation and hearing more about the story of Shakespeare in a Chair, Mark's journey, and these incredible kids, and wielding the power of Shakespeare to change the minds of young kids in ways that are incredibly relevant to the challenges of our city. It's so cool. I just love it. I get tingly when I think about it. So thank you guys so much. I also need to, my clicker isn't working, but I need to tell you what's happening next month, which is that we're going to be meeting right here on September 8th, not September 1st, because that's like Labor Day or something, right? No. So we're going to meet second Friday of September 8th, although signups will happen on Labor Day, so don't sleep in too late. It's going to be right here. The theme is compassion, and our speaker is going to be Nelson Morales. Now, Nelson is a transgendered photographer from Mexico who's going to be in residence at the McCall Center for 3 months. And this is kind of part of his sort of Welcome to Charlotte tour, if you will. So he's got an amazing, amazing story wielding the power of his craft to explore cultures that are unlike us in ways that are compassionate, and also in ways that he's exploring his own journey in compassionate ways too. I won't tell you too much, but you're going to want to be here for this one. And finally, I want to invite up the Creative Mornings volunteers and staff, because without them, and they're we're all volunteers from top across the board, and without them, these mornings would not be possible. So come on up. Woo! And we're going to sign off with a song by Rebelwood Mission. One more time, Mark Williams, Shakespeare in a Chair. Genius, genius, the Bard. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. Thank you for being here. We love you all.